All right, welcome back, Gunpla fans and Gunpla nerds alike, and fans of the channel. For those of y'all who have joined, and up until recently, um, I wanted this to be a very different talk initially on episode 5, but I got to building and finishing the RX 782 Origin, and as I was doing the write up, I thought to myself that I think I haven't really explained so much about my build process, so I labeled this episode from build to video. And I want to go ahead and go into that a little bit. And there's probably going to be some ranting and tangents as there always are in these things, but I want to go and get that out of the way because this week, whenever this video or this podcast episode posts, which should probably be midweek, this week coming up is going to be incredibly busy, so I want to go ahead and get this one out of the way. So that way I know it's out there and I don't have to worry about it. It's one less thing I got to worry about. I've also, last bit of news, I've also got the write up done for the RX 782 Origin build review. That write up is completed, it's done. I am going to take a lot of time during this week to re engineer my videos and try to do something a little differently. And when I mean a little, I mean a lot differently. I've been doing some research and some homework, and I want to make sure that I'm not only providing the necessary information that you're probably seeking, but trying to create a better flow in the video and break down the video a little bit more in segments. That way I can pause and make things a little bit cleaner in the transitions. So that's the next bit of news. That wasn't anyway. Moving on. So from build to video. Well, um, when I get a kit or when I decide to build a kit, I'm basically looking at in my closet which one's been in there the longest, which is why you saw a series of high grade kits, some older high grade kits being built back to back to back. I I went on a binge and bought a whole bunch of kits, master grade to real grades, MGEX, and a bunch of older high grades, and that's why I built those. But I need to deviate away from that methodology because if I did that, then I'd be building like the real grade justice or real grade strike freedom next. And though I want to take on the challenge, I don't want to take on that challenge just yet. I'm still not. I still haven't gotten over the build of the RX 782 version 1 real grade, and I built that thing months ago. Um, all kidding aside, I mean, all kidding aside, I've built a bunch of real grades since then, but I want to deviate away from that process of building the oldest kit in my backlog first. I think that's going to change. I just don't know which kit I'm going to build next outside of the lives, which the lives are going to be this new latest one's going to be the Master Grade EX. Again, here I am going on a tangent. That one I should start at least cracking the box, going over it, getting into it a little bit on Friday night, depending on how this week goes, because I'm going to be working 10 to 16-hour days a week for this whole week. And I might be exhausted, so exhausted that I might wait the following week to actually do a new video outside of the build review that I'm going to be putting out on Saturday. So, anyway, the build process from start to finish. Like I said, typically I used to go get the oldest one in my catalog and then just build it. And how I build is basically from how the manual starts. Wherever the manual starts is where I build. I know others start with the legs, others starts with the inner frame if it has one, and others start, in various different ways. I basically start where the manual says to start, or where they started the manual, and I build from there. And sometimes it's a head unit, sometimes it's leg. I've seen the arms in some of them. It's whatever. I'm not real nitpicky about it. I don't. I just build it. But what I do end up doing is with the legs and the arms, because you can do those concurrently or simultaneously, is I build both the arms, both the legs at the same time, and I do that on purpose because it speeds it up by half. Because I can't say it does a 1 to 1, but it speeds it up by half. Because as you're building one, you're seeing getting that muscle memory on how that all builds together, but at the same time you're clipping out all the pieces from the runner. That's why I say half. So you've got all the pieces on the runner, you got them all sorted or separated, however you do it. And then once you're done with one arm or one leg, you kind of have a feeling of how that goes together. So building it without looking at the manual is something that is possible and achievable. So that, again, which is why I say half. So it speeds it up by half. So you're able to knock out the other leg or other arm in half the time you did the first one, which is, for those of you who build these like I do, you know that is a blessing to be able to speed up any process of this, but still maintain that level of quality and consistency to get this done. So there's that. And typically, I don't put the hands on the kits. When I build the arms, I'll wait till the very last to put the hands on the kits, mainly because I'm not building the weapons yet anyway, so I don't see a point of having the hands built as is. And once I get to the weapons, that's when I start building the hands. I don't do a full assembly of the kit at the end. I kind of put the kit together as I'm building it. So if I build the head first and then I build the waist and torso unit, I put those together. And then when I build the legs, I put the legs on. And the arms, I put the arms on. And by the end of when it's all said and done, I build the whole thing. Which is why you don't see me doing these full build reviews anymore, or full kit builds anymore. One, it took way too long. And at the end of it, I was making a 40-minute video, and I realized that 40-minute videos is something that people just don't want to sit through. I have a hard time believing people want to sit through a 15-minute video, because I know myself, unless it's something that doesn't interest me, and even sometimes the case when it does interest me, I lose my attention about 10 minutes in, at best. At worst, it's like 5 or 6 minutes in. So when I watch the videos from M.S.GundamMeister, he's lucky that I finished. Like, I actually sit through all of his videos. I don't know why, but I think they're entertaining. So I'll sit through all of his videos as I watch them. And of course, I watch a couple of other creators too, but every other creator I watched outside of those couple that I do like, I only spend like a couple minutes on the videos, if that, because my attention span is just terrible. It is awful. As you've probably already noticed in some of these conversations in my build videos or build review videos, my attention span is just awful. Which is why it's so hard for me to build a script for these things, because I usually end up going off script anyway, which is something I'm going to be working on. And so, coming off the build, what do I do when it comes to the actual creation of the videos and the content? Well, prior to now, with the RX 782 Origin that I'm going to be working on this week, if I given the opportunity. Prior to this, I've shot in such a way that I try to just go over the build as a whole with two different perspectives. One, a side view perspective, and another is a top-down perspective. And I'm wondering if that has been the best approach. I don't know if people really enjoy that picture-in-a-picture look or style. I haven't seen it really done in many other videos for Gunpla, is what I should say. I haven't seen it done in very many other videos for Gunpla. So I'm not saying I'm the only one, but I might be one of the few. And I'm thinking of dropping that practice and moving back down to one camera, and just getting different angles with the same camera. I'm going to be relying less on the boom stand I got from my camera, and more on the magic arm that I've got, and utilize that. I get a greater sense of flexibility with it versus the boom boom or boon arm I have for the camera on the other side of my desk. So um, there are going to be some of those changes. I think starting with this next video for the origin version of the RX 782. Um, so that's basically it for me when it comes to the actual capturing the video process. The editing process. Um, well, I guess I can go a little bit more than capturing the video. Before I was using this little lavalier mic or lapel mic with my iPhone, and I moved from that to a shotgun mic that I hooked up to my camera. The camera, by the way, is a Panasonic Lumix uh, DMC GH3, which is roughly about 12 years old, but it's a mirrorless micro four thirds camera. I've got the 14 to 42 f3.5 to 5.6 lens on it. It's not the greatest lens, but if you shoot with the right amount of light and the correct exposure, you can get some pretty good shots and pretty good video out of it. So you just got to know what you're doing with it. But also I had a shotgun mic attached to that. The problem that I had with the shotgun mic is I forgot to turn it off all the time, and so the batteries would die. So I bought rechargeable batteries for them, and then eventually migrated back to the current mic I'm using right now, which is this Fifine Fine brand. I got it for like $30 on Amazon. Actually, about 8 months ago. Gave it to my son, and then he decided to stop using it, so I took it back, and here I am using it again. I do realize that the quality that comes out of this thing is not the greatest, so you get what you pay for when it comes to technology. Sometimes you get really lucky when you pay a lot. You don't pay a lot of money for these things, but other times you're getting exactly what you pay for, a substandard or subpar version of the actual version you need. Which is what I'll be doing in the future, is getting a better studio mic to capture audio that is a little bit cleaner and crisper. So moving on from that, I then pull all the information, all the data out of my iPhone, out of my camera, off of everything that I use to capture the videos, and I plug it in to a centralized location on my computer. And then I open up Premiere Pro and then import everything into Premiere Pro. And then from Premiere Pro, I create about, I think the most is about four layers for a video, and most of the time it's usually about 3. So it's about 4 or 5 layers at tops, 3 at minimal, or three at base. I usually have the audio, I have the video, and I've got the picture-in-picture that I clip the audio out of. And then if I add the other 2 rows, it's usually photos or something I'm trying to say that I messed up on, so like a text box or something of that nature. But my with this news video coming out, that might increase to like 7 or 8 rows, because I'm going to be adding transitions. I'm going to be adding breaks in between the build review, just like for the head unit, the torso, the arms, the legs, things I liked and didn't like, blah 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 blah, things of that nature. I know I sound very robotic right now. It's not because I'm bored with this conversation. Quite the contrary. I'm not bored at all. I'm just incredibly tired. I'm worn out. It's been a long weekend, which is strange for a 2-day weekend, but it's been a long weekend. And I'm exhausted, and I've got a long week ahead of me, so I'm probably going to be like going to bed here pretty soon, because it's going to be a very exhausting week. And I'm glad that I was able to get the origin version of the RX done this weekend, because man, I'd have felt bad if this gone another week. It already went on like 4 weeks, but anyway, I digress. So some of the things I'm going to be doing moving forward, to kind of streamline this process or make this process a little bit better, is work on my flow, work on the delivery of these videos. I know in some videos I've tried to kind of spruce it up a little bit and be a little bit more engaging and energetic, but I think I still come off as robotic in some cases. So I want to be able to um, start being a little bit more engaging with these videos, and bring interest into them outside of, the kit being the draw to the videos. I want to be able to keep people engaged in the videos, and so I'm going to try to change the way that I sound in the video. So I'm going to be working on better flow, better engagement, better, just better delivery overall. Secondly, I'm going to be looking at getting a new camera, or a newer camera, or at very least a new lens. I haven't decided yet. I know new lens would, well, new to me lens would be cheaper. Um, but I've been thinking about moving from the Micro Four Thirds standard and getting a lower end full frame camera. And when I say lower end, I'm talking like a used high end full frame camera from a couple of years ago that isn't comparable in spec to newer full frame cameras, because you're going to get a much better deal on those older ones, and you're not missing out on megapixels. You're not missing out on quality of the shots. Once you move to full frame, you're pretty much at its peak, unless you got a medium format, and that's a whole different ball game. That's a whole different expense. And if you don't shoot medium format and you're fine with what you currently have, do not move to medium format. Do not spend that money. It is a waste of time and energy and expense to move to a $10,000 camera for a $17,000 lens to shoot the same damn photo or video that you're going to shoot with a crop sensor camera or a full frame camera. Do not spend that money. Unless you're some high-end photographer or videographer that needs something like that, which is unlikely in most cases, don't go to those. Don't spend your money on medium format. Just don't do it. Anyway, I digress. I'll pull that back a little bit. So I'm going to be looking at getting a better camera. My wife and I talked about it a little bit, and I'm either deciding on a new lens, new to me lens, or a new camera body. And I'm leaning towards a new camera body and new lens. The reason is I used to have a Sony Alpha A7R2, and that was a 45 megapixel sensor on a full frame sensor, and that thing was awesome. I never utilized it for the videography aspect of it. I always utilized it for the photography aspect of it. And what I failed to realize is that the videography aspect of that thing was stunning. It was phenomenal. And I sold that camera body kit, lenses and all, years ago, because I got out of photography. So I'm going to see if I can find a decent camera body for the Sony Alpha A7R2 again, and a decent 35 millimeter frame or 35 millimeter lens, and a couple other lens options for photo taking, and see if I can't get a good deal on those. So for those of you who want to start getting into the world of videography and photography, I've already been there before, so this is nothing new to me. It's just the content of which is new to me. So delivering the content is new to me. But for those of you who are wanting to get into this world, I would recommend use the tools that you have available to yourself. Learn on those tools before you go and buy something that is wildly expensive, that could be very well outside of your budget, but you think you need it when you really don't. Use the tools that you have at your disposal until you're comfortable with those, and they do not perform the way that you need them to any longer. So if you currently have an iPhone or an Android device, use those. I mean, they're good enough. They can get you by just fine. But they do have their limitations, since they are basically a small little sensor the size of smaller than an inch. You're not getting a lot of, though they might be higher resolution, you're still not capturing that level of detail that you really could with a full frame or a crop sensor camera, or even a Micro Four Thirds for that matter, which is pretty sad. But use the tools at your disposal that you have currently. So use your iPhone, use your Android device, go beyond its current capabilities. That's where you need to land. Is you need to be able to use that camera on those phones or whatever you have available to yourself and then go beyond what it's capable of doing. Once you're at that point, then move on to something else. I would avoid bridge cameras entirely. Bridge cameras are the cameras that have the pre-built-in flash and the optical zoom lens built in already. That they don't have a detachable lens. Do not go with a bridge camera. Avoid bridge cameras at all cost, especially for this kind of work, because you want to be able to get a fast lens. You want to be able to get a decent camera body. So do avoid the bridge cameras. If you want something simple, I know Sony's got that new EV line. I think it's what it is. Canon's got the M50. Nikon's got those are crop sensors, by the way. Nikon's got the Z50. I think that's what it is. Then if you want to go with the cheaper full frame, you can go with the Z5. You can go with the Canon EOS RP. And with Sony, you can find an older Sony A7R, A7C, or A7S. I would go with the 2 variants of those, not the initials. Although the A7S is actually better than the A7R that came out prior to it. So the A7S would be good for videography. So if you want to go with a little older full frame and spend a lot less money, the earlier full frames from those manufacturers will be a pretty good way to go. But yeah, again, go back and use the tools at your current disposal. That's currently what I'm doing, because I'm trying to build out the studio. So I have things set in a priority, which right now I'm working on getting a bigger monitor so I can have a better backdrop. Yes, I use my monitor as a backdrop. It used to be the case that you couldn't use monitors against videography or photography because you'll see the lines in them. But now they become so advanced that you can use them as a backdrop and they'll be just fine. But me, personally, I want to get a bigger monitor that's got an OLED panel, that's got cleaner colors or crisper colors. Not that my Acer Predator doesn't, but I want the OLED panel. I want that brightness. Get a good lighting setup. My current lighting setup is 2 little stand lights with like 160 LEDs, panels, or whatever. I picked up for $25 for 2 on Amazon. I've got a little ring light that's on a boom, whatever, that's flexible. I picked that up for $15 on Amazon. So I got a 3 light setup. That's all I'm doing right now. It cost me less than $50 for these 3 lights. And hey, it works. So if I did the math on all this, with what I'm using currently, not the overall spend, but with what I'm using currently, if I were to buy this all again, the mic is $30. The 2 lights are $25, so that's $55. The other light was $15, so that's $70. The camera and the lens together were about $250, so we're looking at $320. And then the shotgun mic that I don't use anymore, that was another $30. So, we're looking at $350 there, if you want to include that. SD card for the camera was $15, so we're looking at about $370. And then if you already got a computer that's decent enough with a dedicated video card, then you're set. So you're looking at less than $400 spend if you do it right. If you need a computer, you can build a new computer or get a decent computer from God forbid Walmart, but go to Best Buy or CyberPower PC or iBuyPower or CLX or whatever those brands are. And you can get a pretty decent gaming setup for $1,300. That's going to be really good at doing content creation. So when it comes to Premiere Pro, invest in spec on the GPU and the CPU. You're going to want those more than you are with the RAM. RAM can be 32 gigs and you're going to be fine. If you don't want to go that route and you're an Apple user, and you don't want to spend $2,500 on a MacBook Pro or $1,900 on a Mac Studio, that's new anyway. You can go to eBay and pick up an M2 Mac Studio for $1,500. You can pick up an M1 Mac Studio for about $1,100. the reason for the max chip is that you get two encoder, you get two encoders instead of the one. So that really helps with the video decoding and encoding. And then if you want to go new, at a base level, buy the Mac Mini M4 with 16 gigs, upgrade to 24 gigs, so it goes from $599 to $290 or $799. And then don't upgrade the SSD, but go buy a terabyte SSD outside of that for like $60, and then go buy an enclosure for another $40, and then put that together. That way you can get USB-C to that SSD and get really good speeds through that USB-C 3.1, I think it is now. You're not gonna see a whole lot of variation there when it comes to speeds, and it's really not gonna be noticeable. In all honesty, save yourself the money. But what you want to do instead is, instead of getting on a subscription plan for Premiere Pro, take advantage of Final Cut Pro on Apple and buy that for the $299 price tag, because that will work. That is a I think it's a lifetime license for the device or for your account. I can't remember. I think it might be for your account. So you spend the $299 once, and you're getting all the updates, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So buy the Mac Mini with the 24 gig RAM upgrade, and then buy the Final Cut Pro for $299 and be done with it. That would be the cheaper way to get into Mac in that environment. Do not skimp on the monitor. Absolutely do not skimp on the monitor. Do not go to Best Buy and pick up a $100 special and call it good. That is not going to work. That is not going to do what it needs to do. That is not going to provide any color accuracy at all. And what you're going to see on your video might look good because you built it on your screen. But others, on the other hand, when they view your video, they're going to get a very different result, because when you build this on a basic IPS panel screen or a TN panel screen, and then you don't have that color accuracy, and then somebody on an IPS panel or a higher end IPS panel or QLED or OLED or whatever LED new LED kits or panels are out there, the colors are going to be washed out, undersaturated, not true tone. They're going to look awful. So you want to find a panel that is the very minimal 100% sRGB or 100% Adobe RGB. The sRGB being the better of the two. So you want to at least find 100% or above sRGB, or a panel that is DCI-P3 and 93% or higher. That way you get that color accuracy you get that color accuracy across the board. So that way what you see on your screen is what others with equivalent screens or phones with the nice new panels on them are going to see as well. You're not going to be able to, those who watch the videos on YouTube with the cheaper quality screens or cheaper phones, I mean, they're not really looking at the quality of the video anyway, but you want to be able to produce that quality video. You want to be able to produce that color accuracy and that color, that color accuracy. You're just going to want to. Again, see, I went on a huge tangent here on stuff. So, and if you heard that door, that was my wife coming in the room to tell me she's probably going to go lay down in bed. It's already 10:15. And, but anyway, I know that was a long tangent of what to buy that wasn't meant to be part of this podcast, but it's important to use the tools that you have to you at the beginning, and then upgrade as you grow out of those current tools that you have. But also spend wisely and know what you're buying before you go and buy it. Do some research on the stuff before you go and buy it, because ultimately what will end up happening is you buy something